Hello and welcome back to Mothers in the Middle. Today's guest is Mathy Mulumba, a leader, a mentor, an advocate, and a proud Francophone woman. I grew up with Mathy, seeing her as a yaya, what we call older sister, in the Edmonton Francophone community. She has so much knowledge and wisdoms to share, and I'm looking forward to all of you hearing her story. Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of Mothers in the Middle. Hi, Mathy.
Hi, Laura.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so before we start, let's start with some icebreaker questions, just to warm up the conversation.
All right.
So tell me, what is one thing right now that is bringing you joy, whether it's something big or something small?
I would say my garden.
Your garden.
I know it sounds atypical, but
That's cute. Actually, I've never heard it.
It brings me joy because, you start from the seeds and then you see it as it grows and you water it.
Yeah.
And I did forget about it for a few days. Everything dried, but then it came back with the rain.
Okay.
Yeah.
The excitement, the way your eyes just lit up. It came back with the rain. Okay, garden. That's beautiful. Okay, so if, we're all mothers here, if you had a theme song to describe the season of motherhood you're currently in, what would it be?
That's a good one. I don't know that I have a theme song, but can I wrap it into something different?
Absolutely.
Okay. I would say this current season is I'm feeling chill.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not saying that I got it all together, but I'm feeling chill about it. Because I've been a mother for a little bit. I know there's still some ways to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm getting it. I'm finally getting it.
Oh, I love how we've gotten to different answers for this. So I really love it. Just shows the diversity of motherhood, right? But I love that. Yeah, you seem very relaxed. I like your answer.
Thank you.
You're chilling.
Yeah.
Just cruising through motherhood.
Yes. Because I used to be very, I would say super organized and everything have to be in its own place. It's exhausting. So I'm just you know what? It will fix itself the next day, I guess. Or, when I get to it, I'll get to it.
Colin could be like that from the beginning.
I know.
This is you're preaching to the people. Okay, and if you had to describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be? And which one would your mom agree with the most out of the 3 words?
3 words. I would say calculated, right? There's a little bit of that in me. I would also say relaxed in a way. That's what I aspire.
Yeah.
To just let it down and a bit rushed. I mean, it's
Okay.
it goes against each other, but my mom would agree with rushed. Because I'll tell you a story. Right? So I was in Canada for a few years before our parents joined us. And then when they finally did, one day we were walking through the mall and I'm walking at what I think is a regular pace to me. And then my mom's steps behind. She's like, why are you walking so fast? I'm like, no, I'm not walking fast. I'm walking at my pace. But to her, it felt rushed.
Yeah.
So sometimes she feels like I'm rushed because I also run on a schedule, right? Because I'm a mother. I need to be places. I need to get my kids places, right? And then sometimes when we involve her, it's taking forever because, she just has the right time. So she would agree with rushed.
Well, sense of urgency.
Yes.
I think is the better way to describe it.
Yeah.
But I feel like mom also balances out, like, just stop and smell the roses, that garden.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So,
Sure.
okay, well, I'm gonna introduce you to the people because they need to know who you are.
Oh,
So,
nice.
today's guest is someone who it truly embodies community. Mathy Mulumba is a leader, mentor, advocate, and a proud Congolese Francophone woman. She's been showing up for others long before it was trendy. She's a yaya, which in our culture, she's an elder sister, a big sister.
Yes.
Okay. I actually grew up watching her, and growing up in the Edmonton Francophone community. And it's a real honor to have her on this project. From school board candidacy to mentorship to being named Femme de l'année, Mathy is always finding ways to pour into others. We're so grateful to welcome you to Mothers in the Middle.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome. Thank you for being with us. So, as I just said, you've always been visible and a consistent presence in the Afro Francophone community here in Alberta. Why has it been so important to you to show up and to protect and promote the French language?
It sounds like a loaded question.
It is, because we're the Anglophone province.
Okay. Can I start far back?
Absolutely.
All right. So I'm originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, right? Colonized by Belgium. The main language spoken is French. So coming to Canada, I came with that identity, I'll say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So arrived in Quebec, French, everything's school. You feel like, you're a fish in the sea, in the ocean. You're in your own space. Fine. Until my family decided we have to go learn English. We're like, ooh, okay, let's go learn English.
Okay.
So across the country we go, Alberta. So I've been in Alberta for over 25 years.
Okay.
Yeah. But having that identity, that Francophone identity, was very important to me. And then I find it sometimes ironic because let's go learn English. But then I land in the French high school. I thought we came to learn English. Why are we not being sent to an English school?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so that you can keep your French. I'm like, I'm not losing my French. How do you lose a language? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Not being aware of the realities. Right? So for me, it was important because it first is part of my identity, but also as you find yourself, you discover who you are. I felt like this was the one piece that I could hold on to, right?
Okay.
Yeah, the language.
That's so interesting, and not to go on a tangent. It's just, because we're colonized, right? So sometimes you connect with people and they want to disassociate from, everything that connects them to that. But mind you, English is also a language of the colonizer.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, very interesting.
I know, but it was part of my identity to start with.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was born after colonization.
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. Yeah, but then becoming a mother, it was also important to sort of pass that on to my children. And it became even more important when I realized that the one way for my children to interact with my parents was French, like the one language, right? So it was like, okay, so we gotta keep the French. So I get involved, I commit, I support, I promote, and keep it going.
Okay. Wow. That's nice. I like that you tied it to also like your identity. I've never actually heard someone explain it like that, but two, also the value of like the grandparents, right? And having that connection, because with that, it plays such a beautiful role in the lives of kids and families. My next question for you is in terms of like the French language. So outside of Quebec, people sometimes feel like, okay, French doesn't really matter. It's not really that important, right? So as someone who is, you promote like, the French language, you're very involved in the Francophone community. How do you kind of like push back that idea? Especially as Leslie mentioned, you're not living in a predominantly like French province, right? And that's mostly seen in Quebec,
Ontario.
and in Ontario as well, where there's like a bigger Francophone community. So being in Alberta, how do you kind of like challenge that and push back that idea that there's no value in it, or it's not as important? Well, it's better to focus on English.
Oh, there's definitely value. I'm not going to go into the scientific aspects of it, but I'm sure there's, when you speak more than one language, your brain works differently, right? There's something there. I'm not going to go there.
There's science studies on this. Yeah, there is.
Exactly.
We're not going to quote them, but they exist.
Exactly. Yeah. But there's also, as I said, the identity cultural piece on it. I always tell people French is my first language. Like when I was a child, that's the first language I learned. But then I speak many other languages. Like I speak other, Congolese languages. And then you'll be surprised when I tell people English is my fourth language. We're like, huh? What do you mean your fourth language?
She casually just dropped she's a polyglot, but just to continue, you can say,
There you go.
you speak multiple languages together.
Yeah. So how...
Sorry. I was just like, does anybody really know what that means?
Yes.
Maybe they do.
We know. How do I push back? I say it's useful in different spaces.
Okay.
Right? It could be in the workplace
Yeah.
at some point. It could be just traveling the world as well.
Yeah.
Were we not talking about this?
We were.
Yeah. Like traveling the world. Like you find yourself somewhere, you're like, oh, I hear what they're saying, right? Yes, in French. Or I hear what they're saying. It's in English if you happen to be in France or in Quebec or anywhere else. I find there's value in it.
Yeah.
Like for yourself, for the community, right? Also just to keep it going. Why let it die? And for me, because Canada is bilingual, even more so, right? Why not?
So bringing that into Anglophone province, it's even though it's an predominant Anglophone province, the country is bilingual.
The country
So
is bilingual.
it still has space.
Yes.
It's still
Okay. Especially when I'm welcomed in spaces where I'm offered the option of the language. I'm like, ooh, of français, sign me up.
And sometimes you get quicker service. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever like experienced this. Like, yes, it's like, okay, you call, click 1 for English and click 2 for French. I remember when we had like the strike and I needed to do the passport stuff. I waited one time 45 minutes for the English. I clicked French and I got something in 10 minutes.
life hack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Life hack. What?
Luckily I'm bilingual, so it works for me. But
There you go.
yeah, no, so I agree.
Okay. We're sharing life hacks here. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna segue here. You touched on this in regards to essentially community, the importance showing up here. You wear many hats. Like it's so interesting how you can know someone your whole life, but not really know them, because I was looking you up and I'm like, okay, school board candidate, you're a community advocate, mentor. Yeah. To so many. Where did the spirit of leadership come from? And 2, how have you seen it evolve for yourself?
I'll tell you, at first I did not see myself like that. I didn't see myself as leader.
Okay.
No, I was me. I was part of the community. I was, supporting, and I was also following my interests, right? And then I was like, oh, this feels good. But I wasn't, you mentioned Femme de l'année.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going for that.
But it found you.
Exactly. So I wasn't going for it. I wasn't seeing myself that way. But as you evolve, as you grow, then you realize, oh, what I'm doing actually serves a purpose. It actually is impactful, to someone, to people, to a community, and then bam, you get recognized. Yeah.
And just to touch on that, so you got this Femme de l'année, You also received this de l'excellence. Right, sorry, Prix d'excellence de la francophonie.
Ton français, where's your French?
Yeah.
It's all wrapped up into that.
Fringlish or Franglish. So okay, so receiving those, like Leslie mentioned a bit about how you're an advocate, you're a mentor in the community, and also in the Francophone community, and you have all these, like, you've received these recognitions. You've gotten these recognitions. So do you feel that comes with a sense of like responsibility? And if so, what is that responsibility? And do you like that responsibility? Because you're a mom, right? So you're also like, there's already so many things you're doing. So I know I asked you a lot of questions.
We like questions within questions. It's very
questions within questions. Yeah, sure.
It does come with a sense of responsibility, even though I said I wasn't going for it.
Yeah.
But then when such things happen, you're like, oh, okay, I guess somebody is looking up.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so let's keep doing this because we've been doing something right.
Yeah.
Let's keep doing it right, and let's just keep growing from it. Do I like the responsibility? I don't know that there's something to like. It's just natural to me. Yeah. Do I?
What she's saying is it comes effortlessly.
But when I say like in the sense of like, is that more of like a burden, right? Because you're also like, your mom, you have 3 children that you shared with me earlier. So is that like, okay, I'm involved in my community. I give back. I'm seen as this mentor. I advocate for this and that. Is there ever like a point where it's like, okay, this feels like too much? I know you're also in a good phase in motherhood, as you mentioned earlier. So
you just have to learn and to know how to prioritize.
Okay.
Right. And again, it comes with seasons.
Yes.
There were seasons where, for me, it was more the motherhood piece. Right. And now that my children are growing, they're a little bit more independent. They can manage a little bit more. And I have a fantastic partner.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I can do a little bit more of different things. So you just have to be able to work with the seasons.
Yeah.
Work within the seasons.
That needs to be in a shirt. Work within the seasons
of your life.
Yes.
Yes. Not the literal.
I just, like, to your point, asking that because I have, you're a new mom, but my kids are not as old as your children, but I'm in that middle. And I literally tell my girlfriends, we'll be having conversations, and I always say, you can do it all, just not all at the same time.
Voila.
Right?
Yes.
So to your point, it's like, work within that season of your life. And if you're, a new mom, enjoy that season because it's not permanent. It sounds so cliche.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I don't think, like, I'm not speaking for all new moms. I'm speaking for myself. It's not really enjoyable, honestly, all the time, but it's beautiful. Like, it's a blessing, but it's not always like enjoyable because you're not sleeping, you're tired. You know what I mean? You have to keep this young person that's like a beautiful, precious gift from God, but you have to keep them alive. And that first of it. Yeah. And that comes with a lot, and it's heavy sometimes. And sometimes if you're like me, you're also like, not that you're resisting this, but you want to do so much. Right. So it's kind of like, okay, you have to manage also like your expectations and your dreams and your ambitions to like your current season, which is like newborn, you have a baby, like, you have to work this out, figure it out. And also to like doing it for the first time comes with so many like nuances. Right. So yeah, that's a good word. And that's actually something that my husband always tells me, that life happens in seasons.
Yes.
So I know it and I hear it, but it's like, I don't always like live it out,
Just work with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, totally. Just that relates. So we just, you like hit the nail on something. I want to touch on how you've mentored so many people, especially those navigating, similar to what you went through, like cultural changes, and language. What's something you tried to pass on to them that you wish someone had told you when you had moved to Alberta?
I would say the confidence. Like,
Okay.
yeah, just know your identity, know who you are. You can't figure out everything at once. give yourself time and grace, right? But, as you discover, as you grow into who you are and who you're becoming, just be confident in it. And I did have mentors, but I probably didn't realize I was being mentored until later on.
Okay.
Right?
Like you didn't label it like
Exactly. It wasn't labeled that way. But, very strong people, very strong women, sort of, I'm watching them and then sort of walking in their footsteps somehow, but not really like, can you mentor me? And to show that I'm not like that. But in this season of my life where I graced with the opportunity to mentor others, it's like just be confident. And you can't figure it all out at once. So just like take the first step and then you'll figure out, what comes next. Have the confidence like to do what, you feel like you are called to do or want to do.
I feel like, when people say it's almost fail with confidence, right? To a degree, right? They say like fail fast, make those failures happen fast. I'm probably totally butchering it, but like fail fast so that you can keep on continue on the journey, right? Yeah. So it's like almost like you're reminding anyone who's in that position, like fail with confidence, get back up. Yeah. Keep going and you'll keep learning. And
sometimes it's not that serious. Okay. And then maybe if that one opportunity doesn't work out, another one will show up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No missed opportunities.
No. Yeah. And even if it delays, another one will show up.
Okay.
And before I ask my last question, speaking on failure, do you feel like there's like one, and I don't like the word failure because a lot of things that we label as failure is not really failure. They're usually stepping stones. But if we have to use the traditional definition of failure, do you feel like there's one failure that has taught you, like has either been very impactful or like taught you something or has been like pivotal for you? And this, you don't have to go into like detail, but just...
Yeah, we don't need names.
Nothing comes to mind right away, but I'll mention like having sort of set on an opportunity too long, that space where you're like, I want to think about it. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it's gone. Mm-hmm. You're just like, I missed it.
Yeah, I should have done this.
I should have done this. I should have taken it. But you're just like, is this right? Is this not right? Do I think about it? Sometimes just go with your gut.
Mm.
Yeah.
And do you feel that you're still stuck there? Or do you feel that Mathy of now you've evolved into taking that leap?
I'm no longer stuck there.
All right.
Because and that one is pretty recent.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
So therefore, being at this stage of my life, I learned from it. And I'm like, okay, now I know. I know what I could say yes to. I know what I'll say no to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I love how you openly just shared that was recent, and not something like 5 years ago. As far as just like 2022, 2020.
Recent. Yeah.
All right.
So in that breath, you said the Mathy of now. So the Mathy of now is I'm going for it, is I'm confident. I know what I bring to the table. I know what my value is. But if you had to finish this sentence, this is something that we're asking all of our guests. If you had to finish this sentence with you don't have to, what would you say if you were speaking to the younger Mathy? So Mathy of 20 years ago and Mathy when she was 20 or 21.
You don't have to say yes if it doesn't feel right to you. Okay? You don't have to jump into it if you don't feel like, the timing is right. And something I tell my kids often, I have 2 teenagers and then 1 younger one. And I tell them, I say, warrior. Where the wounds are. And I tell them, I say, if something doesn't feel right, like in that moment, get out and rush now later. Right? Okay. But sometimes you sit in a situation and you're trying to like overanalyze it and trying to figure it out, and you're like,
Pros and cons.
exactly, like weigh the
Checklist.
balance. Yeah, exactly, checklist.
Yeah.
You know, but I tell them in that moment, if it doesn't feel right, get out of there, and then you'll overanalyze it after. At least you're like out of that situation. Yeah, because I don't see no value in being stuck in something that doesn't feel right to you.
Facts.
Yeah,
I feel like I've always said I go with my gut, and
yeah.
it's always
Your
it's always
instinct, your
yeah.
inspiration, that small voice.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I would also say you don't have to where was I trying to say? You don't have to explain yourself.
Like justify.
Yeah.
That comes from people pleasing.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a good response.
If I say no, it's no. Like I don't need to justify. I don't need to explain myself. Sometimes, we would over explain ourselves.
Women.
Yeah.
Mothers.
Yes. Maybe it's just not the good time. It's just not a good day. Allow me. Yeah.
That's a good response. No, I love it. Okay. Let's see. I don't know. Do you have anything else that you want to add? Do you have anything?
Guys, I literally just well, I could dig into more questions here. I do have one question. Since that opportunity was missed, are you already preparing yourself for the next opportunity? Have you already started that process? Okay, good. I'm ready.
Yeah. I am prepared.
This is the little sis asking the big sis. Hey, you told us this? Are you acting like
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's good. And you know what? Like, it just sounds like a lot of, if I named the theme of a lot of what you said from like the beginning to the end, it's just a lot of like evolving and growing through what you go through. Right.
And confidence.
Yes.
There's definitely a lot of growing. I mean, being an immigrant, there's a lot of growth that needs to happen, and sometimes very quick.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
because you came at what age?
Teenage years. Just like starting high school.
Oh my gosh. Like,
yes.
Pivotal.
Yes.
And when you came, did you come with your family, or did you come before them?
Yeah, before my family, like before my parents.
Okay.
Yeah. But we had family here, so.
Still, though, like, I know we normalize that in our culture. This is family, but that's still like.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not. No, it's not the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Not the same. It's almost like you leave the family nest.
Yeah. And early at like a transformative
yes.
and very pivotal time.
Yeah.
And, speaking on the fact that you're an immigrant, you should be very proud of
honestly
what you've accomplished, just to be able to be recognized, and what you've accomplished now. There's probably so much that you're going to do that you want to do as well.
Amen.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you should be very, very proud. And it's a beautiful example. One for Congolese people, for Congolese women,
Mm-hmm.
two for African women, and three for Black women. And me and Leslie, we've like, as we're concluding, we've talked so much about like the spaces now, especially whether it's in media and all this stuff like that. There is the representation of African women, but sometimes it's a select type of African women. And I'm hoping and wishing, whether it's through us and even through other people like our peers, and people that we see, that there can be more different voices across the continent, different voices, whether it's Congolese voices, Congolese Canadian voices, and also voices of African women and African people from the Francophone countries. Yeah, I think that there's so much value, and there's so much richness in our cultures and just the way we are. And so,
but that also has a lot to do with the fact that you said Francophone, right?
Yeah.
Usually we have that polite, sorry, thank you.
Yeah. It dates back to
the
colonization.
Exactly. You easily give up your seat. You easily lower your voice, canoeing.
It's a bit like modest,
Yes.
posh. Don't be
Yeah.
so out there.
Exactly.
But there's a shift. I think that there's a shift in our generation and in our time,
Yeah.
right? Especially for those of us who've been socialized in the Western culture. I would say that we actually get the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah.
We have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
Take the richness from our African culture. We also take the Western culture and you can mix that and make something really beautiful. So
It's a fusion.
yeah.
It's a beautiful fusion. And to your point, and which is why it was so important for us, because you just exemplified. So for context, I went to a gala for a Francophone nonprofit, Leisure Fest, based here in Edmonton, and I heard Mathy speak, and you were speaking to my heart. And I literally texted my sister and I said, we need to get Mathy on the podcast. Like, she needs to be on the podcast because she represents everything that I feel that we want to highlight.
Yeah.
Like, we know, like, we're not starting diaspora wars here, right? But just like my sister said, like, yes, there are spaces for African women, but I'm not seeing enough. I see women that look like me, but we don't have that same lived experience. And yes, the colonization, Francophone, Anglophone, it does have an impact.
Mm-hmm.
And even seeing women in spaces or being recognized that are Congolese, I'm not seeing enough of that, but I know it exists.
It does.
Right? So, when given an opportunity to showcase that, especially even like on a local level, and however, wherever we go,
Yeah.
I think it's so important to highlight because I'm raising a Congolese daughter as well. So I think it's important for her to see outside of mommy, like who else, like c'est possible, it's possible. So
There's so much Francophone African women are out there doing, impacting, that there's so much. But again, maybe often it's always, the louder voices that gets the attention.
yeah. And sometimes, it's eat or be eaten, but sometimes you need the loud folks to remind the folks who don't want to be so loud. It's like, come on over.
Yeah, like even being Francophone, it's like you're a minority within a minority within a minority. Like,
I love intersectionality.
Yes.
You just
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on this episode. Thank you so much for your time. We truly enjoyed it. And I wish you the best in all your future endeavors.
because it's happening.
Thank you both. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. All right. And this was Mothers in the Middle podcast.
Bye.